we'll take a quick look at a report on boxing, and offers a rare look inside how the sport is run, and by certain elements of it are run. And it's a unique insight. Let me get this on the screen here real quick.
It's called a hierarchy of scoundrels. The powerful promoters who organize the matches, select the fighters, negotiate their purses, and arrange the lucrative pay-per-view broadcast rights. State boxing commissions are supposed to rein them in and maintain the integrity of the sport. But back in 1994, when we first aired this story, most of them exercised very little oversight. A federal law making it a crime to fix a prize fight should have had boxing's crooks and conmen on the ropes. But we found that the fix was in more often than you'd think. Take this fight in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, watched by millions of Americans on the USA cable network. The boxer in white trunks is Randall Tex Cobb, a part-time actor who once fought for the heavyweight championship of the world back in 1982. And his opponent in the black trunks is Sweet Sonny Barch. If Barch looks a little overweight and out of shape, that's because he is. Barch had only 3 professional fights in 7 years before this match, and it didn't last very long. 1 minute and 10 seconds to be exact.
Well, after that, I think we have to cleanse ourselves and get some...
The ringside announcer isn't the only one who didn't like the fight. The executive director of the Florida Athletic Commission, Don Hazelton, didn't think much of it either.
It was a travesty. I mean, Sonny went out and basically knelt down 3 times to get the fight over with.
It was fixed.
Yes.
Hazelton is one of the nation's few state boxing commissioners who enforce the rules and the integrity of the sport. He attends just about every match held in Florida, overseeing everything from the judges' scoring to the testing of boxers for illegal drug use. It took him nearly a year, but eventually he got Sonny Barch to admit under oath that he'd thrown the fight.
That's what this fight was a thrown fight.
Barch says fixed fights are more common than most people realize, and he ought to know. He says he's fixed plenty of them, lining up fall guys to help other boxers manufacture impressive winning records.
As my job is to make sure that some of these guys got wins and there were no chances taken.
So you were a fixer?
Well, that wasn't the way it started out. You know, that's what it became.
Barch told his story not only to the Florida Athletic Commission, but also to Sports Illustrated. And it's become part of U.S. Senate hearings on corruption in boxing, hearings co-chaired by Senator John McCain of Arizona.
Anyone who questions the rationale for possible federal oversight of professional boxing's seamy side needs to look no further than the activities of Mr. Parker.
Mr. Parker is Rick Elvis Parker, a boxing promoter out of Orlando, Florida, whom Sonny Barch says is the man behind all those fixed fights.
Sonny is a liar, and Sonny is a thief, and Sonny's a drug addict.
Parker is one of those characters you find only in boxing. A former rock and roll promoter and professional pool shark, he is what investigative reporter Jack Neufeld calls the missing link between boxing and professional wrestling. And that's pretty much what Don Hazelton thinks of him, too.
When he shows up, it's worldwide wrestling at its best. It's Barnum and Bailey. Come to visit you.
Con man?
Oh, yeah, one of the finest.
Parker specializes in promoting heavyweights, especially white heavyweights, who are unlikely ever to win a title fight, but who, according to Parker's former business associate, Rob Russin, are famous enough and hopefully good enough to win a few good paydays.
People who he felt because of their name value or their previous track record could be resurrected or created into a situation for a big money fight, the white contender.
So the idea was to take these fighters, white fighters, set up a bunch of easy fights for them, let them build a good record, a lot of wins, and then eventually get them a big payday fight against someone like George Foreman on television, where they were probably going to get their brains scrambled.
Well, there wasn't much concern for the final result, but yes, the mismatches were by design.
What did Parker tell you? Find me somebody who Mark Gastineau can beat, or was he saying, find me somebody who will take a dive?
Find me someone who'll take a dive.
The Fall Guys, when we return. Parker's latest white hope was a former professional football player.
From New York City, New York, here is the former
former All-Pro defensive end for the New York Jets, please welcome Mark Gastineau!
At 6'6" and 260 pounds, Mark Gastineau was big, white, and well known. To Parker, that added up to a lot of money. That and Parker's connection to the George Foreman camp.
Parker had had conversations with George Foreman's business advisor, and between the two of them had come up to a general agreement that if Parker were able to get Gastineau to a 12-0 record, Foreman would fight him. So that was the mission, 12-0 in George.
And how much money would that produce for Rick Parker?
Potentially multi-million-dollar purse.
And all you had to do to get this multi-million-dollar purse was to come up with 12 guys that Mark Gastineau could beat.
Correct.
Ah, but that's not as easy as it sounds, because according to just about everyone in boxing, Gastineau's ring skills are, to put it kindly, limited. So Russin says at Parker's direction, he enlisted as Gastineau's first opponent, someone Gastineau was sure to beat, Derek Starfire Dukes, who'd had a few professional boxing matches, but made his living mostly as a professional wrestler.
Why wrestler?
Because there is a basic group who have the pin me and pay me attitude.
What did Parker tell you? Find me somebody who Mark Gastineau can beat, or was he saying, find me somebody who will take a dive?
Find me someone who'll take a dive.
You're sure of that?
Absolutely. The guy wasn't allowed to throw a punch. He was told to get out of there at the first opportunity. Gastineau charged like he would have if he were attacking the quarterback. They came together in the middle of the ring. He threw a couple punches. The wrestler crossed his arms across his chest, fell straight back, stayed there till the count of 10.
Was it convincing?
Oh, absolutely.
Totally fixed. Total fixed fight from the time.
Duke says he met with both Parker and Gastineau before the fight and agreed to take a dive for $600. And what about the knockout punch that lifted his feet several feet above the ground? It was, he says, a classic maneuver he learned in wrestling school. And he showed us how it's done.
Okay? So you throw your punch. Very good. Yeah, I got you convinced, don't I? Very simple.
After the Dukes fight, Gastineau stopped his next opponent in Indiana. In Florida, he scored another first-round knockout. His next two victories came against Jimmy Baker and Jimmy Baker, the same opponent knocked out twice in two different states. Then there was his fight in Carthage, Missouri, against Sonny Barch's brother, Kevin, a heavy crane operator who says he was offered $1,000 to take a dive.
Like a dumbass, say, yeah, you know, $1,000 in my pocket, you know, go in there and get hit, you know, take a fall, you know, I knew what was going on. Sounded like pretty easy. Yeah, grand. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's easy money to me. I've been hit before.
How much experience had you had fighting before the Gastineau fight?
Ballroom. I hadn't had any professional experience, boxing gloves. I'm an untrained person. I went in there totally naked.
Mark Gastineau says that all of his fights were on the level, including the one against Kevin Barch. Parker insists he's never fixed a fight and maintains that Rob Russin, Derek Dukes, Kevin Barch, Sonny Barch, Don Hazelton, and others are all lying.
These people that are making these accusations about fight fixing are a bunch of low-life scumball pieces of crap. Okay, liars, thieves, drug addicts, or people that are motivated for greed or their own personal desire for gain. They want to harm me, want to destroy me for their own selfish reasons.
Parker's plans for Mark Gastineau were destroyed on June 9, 1992, when Gastineau stepped into the ring for his 10th professional fight against someone who knew how to box and wasn't interested in taking a dive. This is what happened. Gastineau got up but lost the decision, all but ending Parker's dreams of that one big payday, at least with Mark Gastineau.
How many Rick Parkers are there out there?
There are a number of folks like this. You know who the culprit is? We are, the commissions. We let them exist. If you suspend a fighter because he's thrown a fight and you won't let him fight, why do you allow people that handle these people to do business in your state? The commissions are at fault doing that.
Hazelton has turned his investigation of Parker over to the Florida Attorney General's office for criminal prosecution. Whatever comes of the case, he says for now, he's satisfied that he's done everything he can.
When you've got a problem in your house with pests, whether it's roaches or mice or whatever, sometimes it helps if you just turn the lights on.
Promoter Rick Parker was never indicted for fixing fights in Florida. Prosecutors there were still working on the case when Parker was shot dead in an Orlando hotel room in 1995. His assailant was a fighter named Tim Doc Anderson, the same boxer who had declined to take a dive against Mark Gastineau. Anderson claimed that Parker had retaliated for that by having him poisoned and had also threatened his quadriplegic sister. He was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. That's this edition of 60.
And that's a quick look at a certain variable of professional boxing, and this was a good informative piece. It offers some rare insight into how this sport is run, and that should do it.